So a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about today, I've watched over a YouTube channel, Hoop Intellect. I'll leave his link down in the description. He did a lot of draft breakdowns on a lot of players. So if there's a player that I don't talk about that maybe you like, he's probably done a video on them. So a lot of this information I got and some of the highlights that I watch gonna be from the Hoop Intellect. So one guy that I've seen that Thunder have interviewed a couple times, or at least talked to, is Isaiah Stewart. So Isaiah Stewart over at Washington, he's 6'9", 250. He's got a 7'4" wingspan, and he's 20 years old. He averaged 17 points per game, 8 rebounds per game, 2 blocks, shot 50% from the field. Took some threes. He was 25% from three, 11 for 34 on some of his jump shots, but about half of his offense came from in the post, so he likes to go down low and score in the post. Some of his strengths, he's just like a really strong guy, kind of uses his body kind of the same way that Steven Adams does. He doesn't necessarily play like Steven Adams, but they kind of use their body, use their strength to their advantage, just in a similar way. He has a really nice hook shot when he's down low in the post. He kind of plays almost like a traditional big man, but he does shoot outside sometimes. And him being undersized was kind of a reason he may fall. He'll probably end up in the late first round, or probably I see a lot of people have him getting taken somewhere in the second round. He's good at finishing around the rim. He's really good on defense. He's a high energy guy. He's gonna play bigger than he is. He plays like he's 7 foot. He doesn't really play like he's 6'9". He's a shot blocker. Like I said, he had 2.1 blocks per game. He's a good rebounder, and then strength is one of his big things. He really just uses his strength. Plays bigger than he is. The main thing, he could be a guy that comes off the bench for a team, which may be good. If the Thunder do keep Adams, then I'd take an Isaiah Stewart in the second round, or with their second pick in the first round. I could see them taking him, and like he could end up how Adams started, where Perk was starting, and then Adams kind of slowly worked his way into the starting lineup. He could be like that. Some of the bad things about Isaiah Stewart, he's not very explosive. Like, the dude cannot jump high at all. And then when he is kind of going towards the rim, he can get out of control. He can, if he gets fouls called on him, a lot of them look like they're charges. And he turns the ball over a lot. He's not a great passer. If he can be a better passer out of the post, then I could see him being pretty good in the NBA. Yeah, he's just got to learn to take care of the ball, because he makes some really bad passes. Like, if you go watch some of his stuff, like he makes some bad passes. And then he doesn't have like a high potential. He kind of has a low ceiling, which is why people see him going in the second round. One guy, he kind of reminded me of Montrezl Harrell. I think he's a little bit taller than Montrezl Harrell is. Just not as explosive as he is. Hoop Intellect said he's plays like Tristan Thompson and Montrezl Harrell. So he's kind of a mix between those two guys, except he's not as athletic as they are. So yeah, that's about it on Isaiah Stewart. Next guy is another big man, a guy that I really like. Just watching his film, I watched him kind of throughout, kind of since college basketball was stopped. Is that Jalen Smith? Jalen Smith out of Maryland. He's 6'10", 225. He's got a 7'1" wingspan. Averaged 15 points per game and 10 rebounds per game. 2.4 blocks. He shot 53% from the field, 36% from three, almost 37%. So this guy, he can kind of do a little bit of everything. He's a good shot blocker, and he's good at blocking shots and not fouling very much. He's got some lateral quickness. He can work on it a little bit, his footwork a little bit. I think he's good at defending the pick and roll. He's able to switch on pick and roll. He could, because he's a long guy, and he's not slow or anything. So he's not going to be an amazing perimeter defender, but if you need him to switch on pick and roll for a little bit, he can do that. Now, the reason he can probably survive in the NBA is he can shoot threes, and it doesn't really necessarily have to be a set shot. You've seen him put the ball on the floor a couple times, but yeah, he shot 36% from three, and he's not afraid to shoot the three ball. He's got a confidence in it. He can put the ball on the floor, and he's not a bad cutter. If he needs to make one or two dribbles to get to the basket, then he can do that. I'm not sure if explosive is the right word for him, but the dude can get up and he can dunk. His ability to in the pick and roll to either roll to the basket or fade out for the pick and pop is something I think that makes him really good, because he's got some long arms, so he can go for the pick and roll. He can get you a dunk. He's good at getting to the basket, and he can dunk on people if he needs to. Some of his weaknesses, he probably needs to put some weight on, get a little bit stronger. Then he can play in the post a little bit. It doesn't really have a post game, which isn't too big of a deal in the modern NBA. If he wants to play outside and shoot some threes, then he can do that. His passing isn't great. It's not terrible, but I mean, he's a big man, so passing for me as a big man isn't a deal breaker or anything like that. And then, like I said earlier, he's got some lateral quickness, but he needs to work on his footwork just a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. And then if this guy puts on some weight, I think he will be a beast in the NBA. Even though the NBA is kind of fading away from the big men, you still need a couple big men in the league, and I think he can always grab a spot somewhere in the NBA. A good comparison for him, I think, and Hoop Analytic had this one too, is Serge Ibaka. I think he was really Serge Ibaka like. I think he'll probably shoot outside more than Serge did early on in his career, but I think that's an awesome comparison for him. Jalen Smith is a guy that I really, really like. They got him going mid to late first round, but I could really see him going higher if somebody really wants a big man and they don't get a chance to go at James Wiseman or a Kongwu. Some other big men I could see the Thunder grabbing, the guys I didn't really write information down, but some guys see him getting Zeke Naji out of Arizona or Xavier Tillman out of Michigan State. Those would probably be guys the Thunder could grab if they want a big man in the second round. Once again, another guy that I really like. This guy's more of a wing forward type of guy. Probably I could see him playing the three, which is Jaden McDaniels. Jaden McDaniels out of Washington is a guy that I absolutely like. I really like this guy. I think he has high potential, and he can score the ball. He's 6'10", 200 pounds, so he needs to put on a little bit of weight. He's kind of got a Kevin Durant type of body. 7-foot wingspan. He averaged 13 points per game, 5.8 rebounds, shot 40% from the field. He only shot 33% from three, but I think he can work on that a little bit. His strengths are, man, this dude can dribble the ball, man. He's a good ball handler. His scoring potential is out of this world. Like, I think he could end up being a really, really good scorer. Obviously, I don't think he's Kevin Durant, but like a poor man's Kevin Durant is kind of what this guy could be. He's got a nice mid-range shot. He's a confident shooter. Needs to work on his shot selection. He didn't shoot great from three this last year, but that's always something he can work on. He's explosive. If I would love to see him attack the basket more. This is a guy who can use his length and just go dunk on people. Get to the basket the way KD does, because he can dribble the ball. He can cross some dudes over. Has a nice just crossover. If you watch him, it really looks like he models his game after KD. Something that, it's another good part of him is his length. He can really use his length to his advantage. That's what will help him be really good in the NBA, if he can work on his three-point shot and then work on getting to the basket, because I think that's something he can be really good at it. Something that I think he brings to the Thunder is it would add size to the wing position. And it's a high potential guy, something that the Thunder really look for. He's got good defensive potential, which is something that I know Sam Presti likes when he's drafting. And he's good in transition, which is something I think the Thunder really need help with after this last year. I say this pretty much every video I talk about the Thunder. Their transition offense was terrible, so I think he'll really help that. One thing I worry about is if the Thunder takes him, is if how much him and Darius Bazley could play together, because they have similar body types. And we'll learn more about Darius Bazley in this next season. Right now, I don't really know if they would fit well together on the court at the same time. His weakness, he needs to work on his shot selection. He's not a very good playmaker. He's not good at really getting his teammates open shots, which isn't a big deal. And then he needs to put on some weight. Again, he's got a Kevin Durant like body. He looks like Kevin Durant did his rookie year, and then after that, KD bulked up a little bit, and now KD's like one of the best players in the NBA. If you really do watch him, a good comparison for him, he really does look like he models his game after KD, but his skill level was probably a little bit closer to Brandon Ingram. I'm not sure if he'll end up being as good as either one of those guys, but those are just two comparisons to the way he plays. Projection for him is late lottery, early 20s, kind of in between there. But I could see him definitely going earlier if somebody is really high on him. The next guy, which is another guy I really like, I'm not sure how good he's not like a big time high potential guy, but I think he could be a pretty good NBA player, which is Aaron Nesmith out of Vanderbilt. He's 6'6", 215, 6'10" wingspan. He averaged 23 points per game just this last year. I don't think they played a ton of games. Yeah, Vanderbilt played 14 games, and so in 14 games he averaged 23 points per game, 1.4 steals per game, and then shot 51% from the field, and then 52% from three in 14 games, which is freaking ridiculous. So his strength, this dude is an absolute knockdown shooter from three. And which is why I think he would be just an awesome fit for the Thunder. Thunder need a guy like that. He's great off the ball. He'll get himself open. He'll cut around, just moving without the ball, and comes off screens, and he can shoot the ball. He could work on getting his shot off a little bit faster, but other than that, this dude off the ball is amazing, which is something that a lot of teams need, especially now in the modern NBA. Just a guy who's going to run around and shoot threes. He's a defensive playmaker. He's not the greatest one-on-one defender, but he can make some plays. He plays the passing lanes. He'll give you some steals, 1.4 steals per game. He's a good team defender, and he's not afraid to go challenge somebody at the rim, only being 6'6". Some of his weaknesses, he doesn't really put the ball on the floor a lot. He's not a great ball handler. He's not very explosive, even though he does challenge people at the rim sometimes. Needs to work on his finishing at the rim, but he has the potential to be a good finisher around the rim. Not a great one-on-one defender, but he can always improve that, especially since we've seen him be a good defensive playmaker. And what he brings for the Thunder is just a nice off-ball 3-and-D option. Like, you always need somebody who doesn't have to have the ball in their hands the whole game to score. He can run around and be the J.J. Redick type guy. He can be a Duncan Robinson type of player for you, over at the Heat. He could be somebody like that. The only thing about him is he doesn't scream somebody that Sam Presti would take. He's not just like a long, beastly athletic dude who's just amazing on defense, which is kind of guys that Sam Presti likes to take. Some comparisons for him, what Hoop Analytics gave him was Danny Green. I've seen some people compare him to Chris Middleton. I don't think he'll necessarily be as good of one-on-one defender as Danny Green. I'm not sure he'll be the offensive player that Chris Middleton is. So just like a lesser version of those two guys if you mixed them together is kind of what he is. I think he's Duncan Robinson-like on offense, I think is what he could be. Defense, I'm not real sure. This next guy, he does scream Sam Presti pick to me, which is Jay Scrubb, the JUCO guy. Jay Scrubb is 6'6", 200 pounds. He's got a 6'9" wingspan. He averaged 21.9 points per game, 6.8 rebounds per game, 1.4 steals. Shot 50% from the field, only 33% from three, but he shot the three a little bit better the year prior. The reason this guy was in JUCO is something to do with his grades or something to do with his credits. In high school, he didn't qualify to go D1, that's the only reason he went JUCO. The strengths of this guy, he's explosive. The dude, and he can score. The dude is awesome in transition. He's a good ball handler. He gets creative around the rim. He doesn't have to just have an easy layup once he gets there. He's a really good finisher. Awesome in transition. He can go coast to coast. On offense, he has a nice floater. I mean, this dude's a bucket. He can get his own shot. Only thing you worry about is how good was his competition at the JUCO level. He has a nice mid-range shot, not a bad pull-up shooter. He can create his own shot. Didn't have a great year from three, but he did have a pretty good year from three. The year before, he shot about 40. I think it was 46%, but is shooting like 1.5 less attempts per game. And then this guy, another guy who's a good defensive playmaker. He's not the greatest one-on-one defender, but he can get you some steals. Plays the passing lanes. His weaknesses is he doesn't give a high effort on defense. He has the potential to be a good defensive player. Just how much effort is he going to give on defense? Kind of like Russell Westbrook. Needs to work on his three ball a little bit. He's a lefty. He has a nice pull-up shot. He doesn't always take the best shots, so he needs to work on his shot selection. Not a great passer, but he's had some moments. If you go watch his highlights where he made some good passes, and he can get out of control when he's going to the rim. He'll probably have a lot of charges when he's attacking the rim, which is a big reason. He really reminds me. He's a 6'6" Russell Westbrook almost. But I think he'll end up being a better shooter, whether that be from mid-range or three-point. Hoop Intellect gave this guy, compared him to Tony Roten Jr., and then said he was just like a poor man's version of James Harden. Which Tony Roten I agree with. James Harden, not so much. When I was watching those highlights, he makes me think of Russ. I don't know. It makes me think of Russ, but probably a little bit better a shooter. And they kind of play the same way on defense. You know, they have the potential to be a really good defensive player, but they kind of cheat off their dude and play the passing lane and things like that. He's projected to go second round, but this guy screams the Sam Presti pick to me, so I could see him. If Presti wants to take a big swing on somebody with the 28th pick, then he might pick Jay Scrubb. I don't really see the Thunder taking a guard in this one, but if they did need to take a guard, a guy that I like is Kyra Lewis Jr. He's a 6'3" guard, only 165 pounds, 6'6" wingspan. He averaged 18 points per game, 5.2 assists, 1.8 steals. Shot 45% from the field and 36% from three. His strengths, dude's got some handles. And, man, this dude is lightning quick. This dude is fast. One of the fastest guys in some of the recent drafts. He has a nice floater. Uses his speed to get past the defender. Sometimes he can be going a little bit too fast, but when he can put that floater up, kind of like Shea does. But, Shea's a little bit more patient than this guy is. He's a good pull-up shooter. He's not. He needs the hand. He needs the ball in his hands. So he's not gonna be a guy who just stands there and catch and shoot, but that's always something he can work on. So he's a good pull-up shooter. This dude is a absolute monster in transition. This dude, he can run in transition, which is just something that just appeals to me. I like having transition offense, guys who can score off of turnovers. You have to take advantage of the other team's turnovers. He creates his own shot in the half-court offense. He's not a bad defender, and then once again, another guy who plays the passing lanes and gets some steals, but isn't just like the greatest defender. Weaknesses, not a great passer, only 5.2 assists per game. He's been known to force some passes. He can't really guard multiple positions. He can guard the point guard position or a small two guard. He's not going to really guard a small forward guy. If he gets switched onto that, it's not going to be great. He's not great when he gets some contact when he's met at the rim. So if he gets challenged at the rim a lot, that's something he needs to work on, is finishing through contact. A really good comparison for this guy is Dennis Schroeder. Like I said, this dude is lightning quick. He can change directions, and he's a really good ball handler. So I think Dennis Schroeder is a very good comparison for him, but he's just a little bit taller than Schroeder is. This guy's supposed to go mid-first round but he could easily go to the lottery. If the Thunder did take a swing at another guard, a guy I could see them going after is Marcus Howard. Marcus Howard is a really good scorer out of Marquette, one of the best scorers probably in college basketball, but he's not great on defense, which doesn't scream Sam Presti to me. And then a guy who has been linked to the Thunder a lot is Alexei Pokashevsky out of Serbia. He's the mystery man of this draft. Big high potential. They say he's a good passer. He's not a bad ball handler. And they think he has really good shooting potential. My only worry with Pokashevsky is he's a 7-footer. He's not as lanky as I thought he was after watching some tape on him. But I wonder if, he kind of has he kind of leans more towards the Porzingis type body, so I wonder if he'll stay healthy. Is the only knock on Pokashevsky I have, because I haven't watched too many highlights or anything on him, but he's been linked to the Thunder. Some people like him, some people hate him. But yeah, that's my thoughts, who the Thunder should take in the draft. Obviously, we don't know what the Thunder is going to trade up and do as of me filming this right now. I didn't want to talk about the most obvious guys in this draft because I don't think the Thunder will go trade for a top 10 pick or anything like that. So if they trade up and go, into the lottery somewhere in the teens is I think what they'll end up with. So those are the kind of guys I thought they could grab, and even a couple guys I thought they could grab with that 28th pick or with their second round pick. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit that like and the subscribe button. Comment down below who you think the Thunder should pick or a guy you like in this draft. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.